Thanks for joining us on the first smokehouse tour with Masterbuilt and Kingsford Charcoal.
John and John McLemore here from Masterbuilt, joining you from Hamilton, Georgia, and we're going to be showing you guys some techniques on how to reverse sear and smoke on your Masterbuilt Gravity Series digital charcoal grill and smoker.
This reverse sear technique perfects the internal temperature of your cut of meat for the most flavorful, juicy results you will ever experience. We're doing this during National Barbecue Month in our very own front yard, and we're even gonna smoke up some Oscar Mayer hot dogs, bacon wrapped with honey glaze. Time to start the grill, and we're using Kingsford charcoal. I've always loved Kingsford because of the consistency, it's super easy to light, and the flavor is out of this world.
Load lighting and setting your grill is super easy. First, we're gonna pour in our Kingsford charcoal in the top hopper. Next, we're gonna put in our starter, slide it all the way in, and light. Now we're gonna close our hopper up. We're gonna pull our slides, and we're gonna set our temp. We're gonna turn it on, press our set temp button, defaults to 225, which is what we wanna be at. So we're gonna dive into our recipes. Now first, everything that you see here, our seasonings, our sauces, our ingredients, our beef, our pork, you can get at your local Walmart to help you master your flavor. So we've got some bone-in pork rib roast. We've got a 2.5 inch thick T-bone. And we've got some Oscar Mayer hot dogs and some bacon. But first, Dad, you're gonna dress this pork up. What are we doing?
So we're gonna take a bone-in pork roast, and we're going to cut that into about 4 to 5 2.5 inch thick nice steaks, 2 bones each one. We're gonna make a dry rub to season these babies up with. So you ready?
Let's do it.
So we've got brown sugar, we've got a 1/2 cup. We're gonna put in 1/4 cup of kosher salt, 1/4 cup of barbecue rub, tablespoon of black pepper, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. We're gonna blend that together for kind of a homemade dry rub. Now let's cut this up. And the goal here is to cut about 2.5 inch sections in between each 2 sets of bones, and just cut right through with your knife, and that's what you're looking for right there.
And it cuts pretty easy. There's not really any cartilage or a bone to get through right there.
There is. You'll notice in some of them, like right there, you just got to find your knife through that bone. And if it does, a really sharp knife, put a little pressure, and you will have to find it, just like I'm doing there, to get in between each section.
And they start to slant.
They do.
So you got to cut at an angle just a little bit.
You do. So you'll notice when we get to this end here, we've got 4 there, and this last one, we're gonna just cut off a little bit of that section there.
So we're just squaring that up.
Squaring that up, but that makes for a really good little boneless pork chop. But as you can see, we now have 5 2 bone-in pork. This is like your center cut pork chop. So if you don't buy this in a whole bone-in section, you can actually buy these
little pork
as
chops.
Pork chops. Just make sure they're about 2.5 inches thick.
Yep.
Now that we've got those cut up, we're gonna take this seasoning and completely coat
all sides.
All sides. Because this is so thick, you're gonna want to get in there and make sure
make sure that brown sugar sits, it kind of clumps up. So make sure you finally ground up or mush up that brown sugar so it will stick evenly to the pork.
There you go. So completely coat all sides. So we've got our Gravity Series grill set at 225 degrees. We've got some hickory wood chips for smoke flavor. We're gonna place each pork cut on the middle rack. Smoke these for 45 minutes to an hour to an internal temperature of about 125.
So the pork is on, and now we're gonna do my favorite of the 3, which is the Tbone Steak. Now this is about a 2.5 inch thick, north of 2 pounds, probably north of a 40 ounce steak that is delicious. Now, we're gonna season it up with a nice simple homemade rub, which is salt, pepper, and some garlic.
Yeah, and that's kosher salt.
And that's coarse kosher salt. Now, my tip personally is I like doing the salt first. The reason for that is because I like as much salt, because we're gonna layer these in, I like as much salt to touch the steak as possible, because that salt, when you let it sit out and get up to room temperature and go on and smoke, it helps render this steak and render that fat. So I like salt first, but we are layering in this kosher salt, pepper, and garlic. Now, this is all to taste, so that's why I'm sprinkling with my fingers. We're gonna give a little bit of pepper. I don't personally love or like the too much heat, so I'm not gonna add a ton of pepper. I feel like that's good for me.
Yeah.
And
garlic.
Garlic.
Now, I love
garlic
flavor on a steak.
Okay,
so
flip for me.
Layer it up. So we've got kosher salt, black pepper, garlic powder.
You gotta play the wind.
Rubbed in, play the wind.
Now, real quick, because I'm gonna smoke this, I'm gonna add some salt right here on the table, and Dad, I want you to mash in that fat cap. You want some pepper and garlic on that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's do it there. Smash that in. And like on the pork, I like smashing that in. That really forces those ingredients into the steak. You wanna do that side?
Got it. There we go.
Okay.
So we're seasoned up, ready to go onto the grill.
Let's go.
Ready?
Let's get it on. Middle rack, 225 for about 45 minutes to an hour. And notice we did not trim the steak. Personal preference, I want to leave all that fat on there to help render during smoking. Our pork is on, our T-bone steak is on, and now we're moving on to our bacon wrapped Oscar Mayer hot dog. So Dad, show us what we're doing.
All right, so we're gonna take a strip of bacon, take your hot dog,
Stretch it out a little bit.
stretch it out a little bit, start at the beginning and overlap that, and then do a little spiral roll.
And you kind of roll it at an angle so it wraps the whole
Completely wrap.
hot dog.
Take a toothpick at each end to secure the bacon, going on the grill.
And this is going on at 300 degrees for how long?
300 degrees for 30 minutes.
Okay.
We're gonna flip the hot dog with the bacon every 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then 30 minutes into this recipe, we're gonna show you a little magic. We're gonna place the hot dogs on the middle rack position and grill these at 300 degrees for a total of 40 minutes, flipping every 10 minutes. "30 minutes into this recipe, and we have flipped these hot dogs now twice. We're gonna give them one more flip and get ready for the magic. So with the first 30 minutes of this recipe, it's at 300 degrees. The last 10 minutes of this recipe with the drizzled honey, we're gonna take it up to 400 degrees with the push of a button. So we are just at an hour with this recipe. The pork is at 125 degrees internal temperature.
And my steak is at 110, and we're ready to pull these guys off. We're gonna pull both the pork and the beef, let rest for 10 minutes, and we're gonna crank the grill up to 700 degrees.
What's the nice thing about the Gravity Series grill, John, is we're gonna go from 0 to 225 in 7 minutes, up to 700 degrees in 13 minutes.
Reverse searing is a technique that allows you to smoke your food at a low temperature, controlling the internal temperature of your meat, and then ramping up the grill to 700 degrees, searing the outside, generating a perfect crust and perfect results. We've got our T-bone pulled, We've got our pork pulled total 1 hour smoke and reverse seared recipe.
And we've got a 40-minute honey glazed bacon wrapped hot dog on the Gravity Series grill. It's time to cut.
Let's cut into it, come on. Guys, we've cut into this T-bone and pork. We're gonna cut up the rest of this. We're gonna taste test for dinner. We've got the sunset in the background. It's dinner time, let's eat.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining our front yard.
And guys, join Masterbuilt in Kingsford next week for more tips and tricks to learn how to master the flavor at your home.